Namo Amida Butsu.
Namo Amida Butsu.
Namo Amida Butsu.
Namo Amida
Butsu.
Namo Amida Butsu.
Kansho.
Good morning. Today is March 5th, 2023, and we welcome you to New York Buddhist Church's monthly Shotsuki Hoyo service, streamed live on YouTube and Facebook. We will begin with quiet sitting. Please sit up straight, feet flat on the floor, calm your mind, and follow your breath. We will begin with Sambujo on page 8, followed by Hyobyakumon, and then the reading of the March names. Today's chant is Juseige on page 54, followed by Vandana Tisarana on page 7. Our reading today is Gassho to Amida, verses 1 through 5 on page 123. Our Dharma message will be delivered by special guest, Reverend Todd Tsuchiya. We will end the service by singing Gathas ONDOKUSAN 2 on page 134 and NEMBUTSU on page 135. Namu Amida Butsu.
Namo Amida Butsu.
Namo
Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Dabutsu. Namo Dabutsu. Namo Dabutsu.
Morning.
Please place your palms together in Gassho. Today we have gathered to pay homage at the shrine of Amida Buddha and share our deep gratitude for all the causes and conditions that have brought us and our loved ones together in NEMBUTSU. On this occasion of the March 2023 Shotsuki Hoyo service, we gather together at New York Buddhist Church before the shrine of Amida Buddha to offer incense, chant the sacred writings, and deepen our understanding of the Buddha Dharma by listening to the teachings given to us by Shakyamuni Buddha and Shinran Shonin. With deepest reverence and thankfulness for the all-embracing wisdom and compassion of Amida Buddha, we reaffirm the three homages. I go to the Buddha for guidance. I go to the Dharma for guidance. I go to the Sangha for guidance. Let's join our voices now in reciting NEMBUTSU. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Dabutsu. Namo Dabutsu. Namo Dabutsu. These are the March 2023 Shotsuki Hoyo names. Bayart Dendev. Fukuchi Kaname. Han Maud. Harris Lee Bird. Hasagawa Mitsuo. Hayden Joseph. Henderson, Asako Kamakura, Hino, Larry Tateyaki, Hirai, Misako, Horita, George Hiroshi, Horito, Haruo, Inoue, Kazuko, excuse me, Ishida, Kazumi, Ito, Mary, Kamada, Mitsuye, Khan, Stephen, Kasuga, Mieko Grace, Kasuga, Teruo Terry, Kim, Walter, Kubo, Yukichi, Kume, Hidekichi, Miyamura, Yoshio, Nakagawa, Chieko Kikuchi, Nakamura, Suya, Nogami, Mitsue Arita, Noguchi, Masatoshi, Ochiai, Fuku, Okada, Barbara Terry, Okada, Isuburo, Okada, Richard Allen, Pasquarella, Josephine Tringali, Poon, Peter, Tamura, Yoshiko, Tomita, Mutsuo, Tsufura, Mabel, Tsufura, Tadashi, Usui, Betty, Tono, Walker, Charles F., Yabuki, Tadayuki. Yamakawa, Richard Allen. Yampolsky, Ann Ray. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Da Butsu. Namo Da Butsu. Juseige is on page 54 of your service books. Everyone please rise for Vandana Tisarana. Please be seated. We will now have today's reading, which is verses 1 through 5 of Gassho to Amida, which you will find on page 123 of your service book. Namo Amida Butsu. I recite Amida's name with deep joy and gratitude. I Gassho to Amida. Trees and grasses and flowers all grow in great compassion. This light shines throughout the world. I Gassho to Amida. Flowers bloom and flowers fall. From the seed sprout new flowers. This is the truth, unchanging. I Gassho to Amida. Springtime brings the happy birds. Their songs all praise Amida. I join them in NEMBUTSU. I Gassho to Amida. When I call Amida's name, it's Amida calling me. Buddha's voice, my voice are one. I Gassho to Amida. NEMBUTSU. 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 So we're very pleased today to have the opportunity to listen to a Dharma message that was recorded for us by Reverend Todd Tsuchiya, who is a Kyoshi minister currently serving at the Midwest Buddhist Temple in Chicago. So he gave us a special message for Shotsuki Hoyo. So I hope you will enjoy it. Thank you.
Good morning, New York Buddhist Church. Thank you very much for inviting me to speak to you today for your monthly memorial service for this month of March. Thank you to Isabel, Gary, and Cheryl Senseis for allowing me to participate in this monthly memorial service. I'm speaking to you from the Midwest Buddhist Temple here in Chicago, where it's been a very unusually mild winter. It's been above freezing for quite a bit of it, and there's actually no snow on the ground, which is very awkward, very unusual. Actually, maybe a bit worrisome if you think about environmental issues going on. And I'm also from Minneapolis, as many of you know. And in Minneapolis, as I speak to family, it's been a very brutal winter. It's been record-breaking cold and record-breaking snowfalls there. Good morning, New York Buddhist Church. Thank you very much for inviting me to speak to you today for your monthly memorial service for this month of March. Thank you to Isabel, Gary, and Cheryl Senseis for allowing me to participate in this monthly memorial service. I'm speaking to you from the Midwest Buddhist Temple here in Chicago, where it's been Good morning, New York Buddhist Church. Thank you very much for inviting me to speak to you today for your monthly memorial service for this month of March. In this month's memorial service. I'm speaking to you from the Midwest Buddhist Temple here in Chicago, where it's been a very unusually mild winter. It's been above freezing for quite a bit of it, and there's actually no snow on the ground, which is very awkward, very unusual. Actually, maybe a bit worrisome if you think about environmental issues going on. And I'm also from Minneapolis, as many of you know. And in Minneapolis, as I speak to family, it's been a very brutal winter. It's been record-breaking cold and record-breaking snowfalls there. So I'm very fortunate and glad to have moved to Chicago for this particular winter. So for today's service, I'd like to begin by reading a poem by Kobayashi Isa, a noted haiku poet and Nembutsu follower. So please join me in Gassho. Place your palms together. A bitter persimmons, bitterness itself turns naturally into its sweetness. I'd like to read that again. A bitter persimmons, bitterness itself turns naturally into its sweetness. Namo Amida Butsu. Namandabutsu, 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 namandabutsu. Isa experienced the sadness of death of his mother when he was just 3 years old, and later in life, the death of his wife and 3 of his children. So in this poem, Isa is expressing that the bitterness of the persimmon represents the sad separations in his life. However, just as the bitterness of the persimmon itself turns naturally into sweetness, the sadness itself is gradually transformed into the kindness in his heart. So I wanted to use this as my opening passage, as today is your monthly memorial service. I'd like to talk about the importance of memorial services in our tradition. Historically, in many Buddhist traditions, there are memorial services conducted on a scheduled basis. The seventh day memorial after death is considered important because there's a legend in Buddhism that the baby Buddha took 7 steps as soon as he was born. With these 7 symbolic steps at birth, Siddhartha had already transcended the 6 worlds of delusion we live in and stepped into the world of enlightenment. So from this legend, it's been thought in India that the number 7 symbolizes a cycle of the beginning or closure of a new form of life. So services are conducted every 7 days until the 49th day. Now, the 49th day memorial, which is given importance because it comes at the end of all the cycles, reaching life's fulfillment and birth in the Pure Land. And the number 49 is important in Buddhism because it refers to the enlightenment of Siddhartha Gautama, the historical Buddha, who attained Buddhahood after 49 days of sitting in meditation under the Bodhi tree. However, in our Jodo Shinshu tradition, the memorial services are not done for the benefit of the deceased. Although memorial services are held in memory of a loved one who has passed away, the purpose of the memorial service is for us, the living, the ones who remain behind. It is a time to reflect upon our lives and express appreciation and gratitude for the many benefits we have received from the person who has passed away and how we are continually being influenced by them. Because of these memorial services, people may feel that Buddhism is very dark and sad. However, the purpose of having these memorial services is not to make us feel sad. Rather, they help us to appreciate our condition and to remember ancestors who have made our present life so meaningful. So when we face the darkness of death, we become aware of the meaning of our birth. In that sense, only when we are able to accept death can we truly celebrate our birth. So in this way, a sad occasion is transformed into a happy one. So in Japanese, these monthly services are called Shotsuki Hoyo, which means joyous month. It's joyous because through this act of attending the Shotsuki service and remembering our family members and friends, we're given the opportunity to encounter the teaching of the Buddha. We can say that it is the person who passed away that has called us together and given us the opportunity to listen to the teachings of the Buddha. It is their gift to us. Experiencing the death of a loved one can be very difficult, yet the experience of losing a loved one is an opportunity for a renewed encounter with the Dharma. It changes how we see the world and can give us a better understanding of ourselves. Remembering our loved ones makes us realize that our foundation was actually created even before we were born, while allowing us to realize the new life that unfolds before us. When we think in this way, Shotsuki is a joyous gathering and a celebration of the life that we are able to enjoy today. Now, the death of a loved one is a very difficult time in our life. The Buddha's teachings remind us that none of us can avoid this experience. So we try to objectively and intellectually understand how we each should feel about the reality of life, and even to speak of grief in the abstract. But when we personally experience this grief, a loved one in our life dies, it can feel very different, very emotional and overwhelming. So grief can be very painful. It never really fully goes away, but it does change over time. And it's based on the attachments that we have as humans. Our Jodo Shinshu tradition reminds us that we don't need to feel bad about our grief or try to get rid of it or to resolve it, but to understand it and to gradually allow ourselves to become whole again and to proceed with meaning and purpose in our life. This is a process that does not have a schedule, is not linear in its progression, but does require effort. And I've heard of an analogy of grief being like glitter. You know, when you have glitter, you can clean it up, but it never really fully goes away. So you'll find it hidden in the nooks and crannies, and it will show up when you might least expect it. So a commonly told story is the Kisa Gotami story, and many of you already know this story, but I'll tell it again for those who are not familiar with it. And this is a well-known Buddhist story about a young woman, Kisa Gotami, who lost her only child to death. Beside herself with grief, clutching the child's body, Kisa went to her neighbors asking for medicine to cure the boy. Seeing that the child was dead, the neighbors thought she had lost her mind. One neighbor suggested that she go see the Buddha. So Kisa Gotami went and begged the Buddha to cure her son, and he promised to help her if she would bring him a handful of mustard seeds with one condition. Now, these seeds had to be obtained from a household that had never known death. So Kisa rushed to her village to search for the mustard seeds, and everyone was very willing to give her the mustard seeds, but no matter what door she knocked on, it was always the same story. Each house had experienced the death of someone, family or friend. And Kisa learned there was no house into which death had not entered. So she realized that she had been oblivious to the grief of others. Death falls upon all, irrespective of age, virtue, wisdom, or innocence. And this was the teaching that the Buddha gave to Kisa, the realization that nothing is permanent and that to believe otherwise is the source of all sufferings and delusions. Unfortunately, when we experience loss, it's easy to believe that no one else has ever suffered so much and we are alone. We need others' help, but our loved ones often feel helpless and confused by the intensity of our grief. In the isolation of her suffering, Kisa was unreachable to her neighbors, and they did not know how to help her. Yet it was only through the benevolent help and the Buddha's compassionate wisdom that she was able to experience for herself the commonality of death and the impermanence of all things. So with the aid of others, Kisa was freed from her isolation and enabled to see her own suffering in true perspective. The Buddha was known for making the teachings personally meaningful and accessible to each person. He understood we often need to make these realizations ourselves and not just to be told. And I think it's helpful to think about her journey, about Kisa's journey from house to house, really as a pilgrimage. It is encountering, seeing, and experiencing something greater than oneself. So by visiting with so many members of her community, Kisa realized the value of shared community support. Being together with them, she could see how others had experienced the same hardship. But what she likely received through her pilgrimage was comfort, sympathy, and empathy from her neighbors, by each of them sharing their stories. Shinran said in the Kansho, which are notes on oral transmission compiled by his great-grandson, Kakunyo, that to support grieving people, first we should receive their grief, which cannot be expressed into words. Then we should be together with them. In this way, we are reminded that the Sangha is where the Buddha lives and where the Dharma comes alive. So I think Shinran is explaining that there is a fundamental way to address grief by engaging in the process of grief, not denying it. Many of us are familiar with this story and can probably understand the Buddhist concepts intellectually, yet understanding it emotionally is a very different story. When we each personally encounter the grief of a loved one, intellectual reasoning is not primary on our mind. Shinran also says in the Kansho, we should not criticize people who are lamenting in sadness. When you are sad, you do not have to hold back your tears. So I believe what he's saying is that the more we act with a brave face, the more we doubt ourselves, we are fostering a mistaken notion of pursuing a path of self-power. A person who understands other power and the power of others naturally weeps on this occasion. No reason exists for a foolish being like us to act in any other way than what is natural. Shinran is saying we can only face our sadness by being sad. By going through difficult experiences, we can then awaken to the profound feeling of love. He is encouraging us to just be ourselves with our doubts and confusion. In the Jodo Shinshu tradition, liberation depends upon seeing ourselves as we truly are, with our selfishness and delusion, who, like Kisa, are oblivious to the sufferings of others. As such, we are quite unable to liberate ourselves since our attempts to do so are calculating and self-serving. So in Shin Buddhism, we entrust ourselves to the Buddha of wisdom and compassion, who vowed to liberate all foolish beings. Through this entrusting, Amida Buddha's light enables us to gradually awaken to our self-centered nature, to realize the infinite interconnectedness of all things, to engage the world around us with growing understanding, tenderness, and kindness, and to respond to the whole of life with deep gratitude. So on this monthly memorial service, remember that the deceased not only live in our memories of the past, but continue to live in our memories of the present and future. The departed are Buddhas, always comforting you, reminding you who you are, and guiding you where you are going. So please join me in Gassho as I read again the poem by Isa. A bitter persimmons, bitterness itself, turns naturally into its sweetness. Namo Amida Butsu. Namandabts, 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 namandabts. Well, thank you very much for having me again today. Thank you very much, all of you, for listening. And I look forward to when the time comes where I can come visit you in person to see you all once again.
I hope everyone enjoyed that. Yes? It clarified the purpose that we have these services, and certainly made me feel glad that I had the opportunity to be here today and for our monthly Shotsuki Hoyo. So thank you very much, Reverend Todd, and we too are looking forward to having you visit us sometime soon, hopefully. So we will now have our Gathas, ONDOKUSAN, and Namo Amida Butsu. Please rise.
Namo Amida.
Namo Amida.
Namo Amida. Namo Amida. Namo Amida.
Please be seated. So this brings us to the portion of our service where we like to greet any new visitors. So is there anyone who is here at the temple for the first time today? Anyone? Oh, quite a few. Could you please stand up and introduce yourselves and tell us how you come to be here today? Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Charles. I came today to just join you all and observe the service.
Thank you.
My name's Liza. I'm here with Charles today just to observe the service.
Thank you very much. We're so pleased you could join us today.
Hello, everyone. My name is Matthew. I was really appreciative of the service today, and I came here to learn more about the teachings and significance of the Shin Buddhism.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Lily, for facilitating the microphone. Please sit down. Thank you. So we're happy to talk to you after the service. And you might also consider going to our website, which is newyorkbuddhistchurch.org. There is a page that will give you quite a bit of information about our teaching of Shin Buddhism, Chodo Shinshu, Pure Land, which is the stream of Pure Land Buddhism in Japan. Okay, and let's see. So, any announcements? Okay. So I would like to thank today, first and foremost, Reverend Todd Tsuchiya for a very insightful and meaningful talk today. Thank you, Reverend Todd. Look forward very much to seeing you, hopefully sometime in the fall, maybe, when your schedule permits. I'd also like to thank today Reverend Cheryl Joko-Ikimiya for joining me on the Naijin for chanting, and also to Maiko Tanaka and Kazuya Hasagawa for assisting in the preparation for this service. And most of all, I'd like to thank all of you for your presence here today. We talk about causes and conditions, and those that brought you here today are we're quite grateful for. You're meant to be here, and we're pleased to have you. It's your presence here today that makes the service so meaningful for all of us to join our voices together in NEMBUTSU. I'd like to thank today my greeter, also, who is Brian Doth and Ruth Funai. I'd like to thank John Skelly for playing the piano for us today, and our wonderful tech team of Carl Palma and David Brady, who, without you guys, they're poo-pooing, but I couldn't have fixed it, okay? They knew what to do to make the sound and the video stream work. So for those of you out there in the watching us on the web, we're also consider you part of our virtual Sangha, and we're happy that this could be facilitated. And our tech team is a big reason why. So we're grateful, very grateful to you guys. So I think that's it for today. We have some wonderful things happening later this month. Reverend Ron Miyamura will be our guest speaker for our Higane service. So look forward to that. And anything else, Cheryl, happening this month?
No, next month's Sokai.
Oh, yes. And next month, we will have our Sokai, which is our annual members meeting. And that will not be broadcast live. But you will receive, if you are a member, you will receive notice that you may attend in person. Only pledged members may vote. And if you're interested in becoming a member, and we do have a special rate for people under a certain age, we encourage you to go to our website, download a membership form, and to look at the benefits that being a member conveys to you. So once again, I'm grateful for your being here today. So please join me for our closing Gassho. In gratitude for all the causes and conditions that brought us here together today, in gratitude for all the lives that created the foundation upon which our lives exist, we place our hands together and repeat the holy name. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Thank you. And if you have not yet done Oshoko incense offering, you may now do so. Thank you.